and welcome. This is Captain Tom, and welcome aboard the Silverwind. This is episode 4 of season 1, and we are going to be talking about the Monkey King from the legendary Chinese novel that is deep with Chinese mythology, Journey to the West. And it's just going to be the first part, and it's really kind of the setup to the overall story of Journey to the West, but it's its own arc. It's kind of its own standalone story at the beginning, and it's all about the Monkey King. So if you don't know who he is, or you do know who he is, and you just want to hang out and have some fun, then this is the place for you. So we have Wilson, who's their intergalactic robot producer and co-host. He is in the corner over there, and together we are going to run this show. So we're going to first off, let's say this. We got Julian. Hey, how you doing? Just some guy. We have arrived. Indeed we have. And Lisa, can't wait to monkey around. There's gonna be a lot of monkeying around today. So yeah, let's go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this music down because we actually, you know, in our season shows, our Friday shows, we have an ad segment. And of course, you know, we're gonna have one today. So Wilson took full charge of this. He had, you know, he's very excited about it. And yeah, so we're just gonna go ahead and kind of give him the floor here. Let me make sure I can find his video. All right, we're just finally we're gonna have an ad play for you guys. So here is the ad Wilson put together, intergalactic robot. You're not gonna see or hear him because, well, I try to keep his opinions, you know, I try to shelter you guys from that because he's, well, he has a bit of a cynical view of humanity sometimes, and we want to try and, you know, do well with our shows here. So let's go ahead and hit, yeah, let's see, that should do it. All right. Okay. It's just animals, Wilson. Is this an ad? Oh, Wilson, no, Wilson, this is no, turn it off, Wilson. This is not, absolutely not. Wilson, you cannot sell Earth's animals to aliens in outer space. Wilson, this is supposed to be an ad for Earth, not to aliens about Earth. You misunderstood the assignment entirely. No, Wilson, that was cringe. That was like the top 30 of the most cringe things you've ever done. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry, guys. So Wilson's had a prior experience of basically buying animals. Let's see here. I want to make sure. Well, let's change the screen here a little bit. Okay. All right. As long as we're not going to see that ad again. That wasn't even an ad, Wilson. And no, absolutely not. Don't sit here and act indignant. No, or like you have feelings. You're a robot. You don't have feelings anyways. Where are we going? Whatever. So yeah, or to live by. Let's see here. Yes, this is the mantra to live by. Oh my goodness. No, I'm not backing me up here, chat. I'm not gonna let Wilson, you know, you have no right to just take animals from Earth and sell them. I don't care if we're low on glue barks. You're gonna have to find your space money somewhere else. That ad space was for Earth money. We were trying to earn dollars. Anyways, yeah, well, I guess that's a pretty decent you know, intro for Wilson there. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we're going somewhere. I was wanting to go space whale watching. Where are we at? This is Wilson's favorite. I called this Space 7-Eleven or Space AM PM. You know, the Space Chevron. Oh, help me out, chat. What's another? It's a space place, a space station that you can get fuel and snacks and that sort of thing. This place actually has the best blue space popcorn. So yeah, where are you going, Wilson? No, don't act like, don't sit here and try to guilt me. You're really gonna leave in the middle of the show to go there? Really? No, Wilson. Who's gonna do all the non-captain things around here? I'm doing all the captain things. Wilson, where you're really going? Give me some space snacks. He's gone. Okay. All right. That's fine. We don't need him anyways. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and run the show. We're gonna go back aft. I'm pretty sure we've been here before. Pretty sure there's a really good view in the back for our backdrop for the show. So Wilson's guess he's gonna go to his favorite space station. It's a space flying J. That's another good one right there. Yeah. Awesome. Flying J. That's actually a good name for it. We'll call it the Space Flying J. So, okay, what can you do? Wilson, hit the. Oh, I gotta hit the transition button now. Oh my gosh! All right, I'll see you guys back after, and we'll talk about the story. Okay, so yeah, behind us is something called the Pillars of Creation. Yeah, I can actually get you guys a better view of this. We've got a few different views right here. I think we got too much stuff in the way. It's a pretty big picture, so if Wilson was here, we could have gotten a more optimal location for it. So I'll do you guys a favor here. Let me get you a good just picture of what the background is without any of this stuff in front of it. So yeah, so that is the Pillars of Creation, a real landmark in space. So obviously we're out here. This is all real, of course. And yeah, let's go ahead, put this back here. We'll switch back to this camera. Perfect. So today we are going to be talking about the Monkey King, and he has several different names: Sun Wukong, the Handsome Monkey King, Stone Monkey, the Great Sage Equaling Heaven. But before I give away too much of the story, let's talk a little bit about the author. So this is a Chinese story that was written in like the late 1500s. It was written by a guy named Chen. Actually, make sure I don't mispronounce this. I was already going to mispronounce it. It's Wu Chengen. And yeah, he was writing about events that happened in the Tang Dynasty. And that was about 600 to 900 AD in China. So although this wasn't written in ancient times, it's kind of like what Tolkien did, writing about or using a lot of mythology for the area to basically create a story that kind of highlights that mythology and creates a fun, fantastic fantasy story. And that's basically what Journey to the West is, except it's in China. So the events that it's talking about, there is an actual story in the Tang Dynasty of a monk who went from China all the way to India to fetch basically the Buddhist scriptures and bring them to China. It's a legend. We're not entirely sure all the details, but basically this story kind of magnifies the mythology of it, makes it really grand, and it adds in the Monkey King, which is a legendary character on that side of the world. So we're going to do justice by not just giving a brief overview of the story. There's a lot of sources for just kind of like hitting all the highlights and just going through it. I'm going to give you guys the details so you can actually see the inflections of the story, kind of those moments of tension in the story. It's like, ooh, what's going to happen next kind of thing, where you kind of lose that whenever you just do a Cliff Notes or Spark Notes version of like, this happened, and that's it, because it could take me 10 minutes to summarize it if I did that. But I'm hoping to use up the whole hour here in order to actually like get us through all the finer points of the story. So, and we'll just continue the story in later episodes. We'll kind of go through the actual journey from there. But I think you guys are really going to love this. Is actually I've been reading. Let's see here. So the version I've been reading is from a book that looks like, well, it's green. For whatever reason, it's not showing up. But it's basically let's see here. I'm going to get the author right. So it's obviously written by Wu Chengen. It's translated by J.F. Jenner. And it's 4 volumes, 100 chapters, long read, but really rich and really cool. So yeah, we'll kind of go from there. Let me see here. I've got my notes right here. One more thing, or I guess 2 more things about the author. I felt it was like when I finally kind of read and understood a little bit about the author's personality, kind of made sense to the story. So 2 things about him real quick. He was not a fan of authority. So he kind of had a cynical view of people and, places of authority. And so you're going to see that a little bit in the story as well. And then the other thing, he wrote a poem, and this poem, basically summarizing it, describes a monk who was recluse and spent all the years of his life crafting a sword within his own heart. But he was sad because he couldn't wield it to do anything about injustice in the world. And it was kind of this, once again, a bit of a critique on the idea of, just working yourself or not really getting involved in actually doing good and being like a reclusive type of kind of a religious person. So he was very much about action, and he didn't have a very good, he was very cynical of authority. And I think if you keep that in mind with the story, you're going to see those themes play out pretty strongly. And yeah, so we're just going to basically start from there. Let's see here. I think most of the time we'll be in this view, but I think every once in a while we could appreciate some of the different views right here. But yeah, we'll just start there. So get ready, get a glass of water or whatever it is you like to relax with, and we'll just get started. So actually, you know what? Before we get started, I'll get a glass of water real quick. Now, the form that I'm going to be doing this with, it's not pre-recorded. It's going to be me kind of explaining it. And, being a live show as it is, I'll have to go to my notes here every once in a while to make sure I don't, skip ahead or do anything like that. So we'll, it's a live show storytelling. I can't think of another one out there like that. So yeah, we're just going to go rolling with it. If you have any questions or anything, any insight or anything like that, anything you want to bring up in discussion, just put there in the chat and we will have that discussion. So, all right. So once upon a time, there was a rock on the top of the mountain of flowers and fruit. And this rock had been there since the first day of all of creation. And in that time, it soaked up the power from the truth of heaven, the beauty of earth, the essence of the sun, and the splendor of the moon. And one day, all of a sudden, it just pops. And out from this rock is a stone egg. And when the wind blows across the stone egg, out hatches a monkey who's called a stone monkey, but he's not literally stone. And so when this happens, the Jade Emperor in heaven is notified of this great event, this miraculous thing that happened down on Earth. Now, just so you know, the Jade Emperor is essentially the king of heaven. Now, once again, the story itself is not necessarily going to be accurate to Buddhist or Taoist or Confucius beliefs. So, what the things I talk about in the story isn't an actual insight on those religions. This is the mythological, fantasy version that Wu Changyan wrote about. So yeah, it's not going to be like a commentary on actual religions over there. But in the story, the Jade Emperor is the king of heaven, and he's not the overall god of everything. There's someone above him. But yeah, that other god is not going to be really in the story. So he's kind of the top dog that's going to be here. And so when he hears about this miraculous event, this is what he says when it's pointed out to him. And this will be very telling about kind of setting up some of the tension in the story. He just simply says this: creatures down below are born of the essence of earth. There is nothing remarkable about him. And so he chooses to ignore this event and ignores this monkey entirely. So with that, this stone monkey gets adopted by the other monkeys on the mountain, and he lives a pretty good monkey life. He, he eats fruit and runs around and plays. He makes friends with some of the other animals. And yeah, he's just kind of doing his monkey thing like any monkey would do. But one day the monkeys go to a waterfall and they basically make a dare to one another. They say, listen, we need a king of the monkeys, and it would have to be the bravest among us. So whoever is brave enough to jump through that waterfall, that person or that monkey will be king of the monkeys. But all the monkeys were nervous except Stone Monkey. He bravely immediately jumps through the waterfall, and on the other side finds a beautiful, elaborate cave. This is a cave that has a throne, has some most beautifully adorned rooms, rare fruit growing inside of it. And so he invites all the monkeys in, and as they're in there celebrating the space that they had found, it had just grown naturally out of the earth in this magical way, and it's called the Water Curtain Cave. He sits on the throne. He says, well, monkeys, all good people follow their word. I jumped through the waterfall, so you guys got to do your part. And that's when he becomes the handsome monkey king. So he actually doesn't even refer to himself, and the monkeys don't refer to him as simply the monkey king. It's the handsome monkey king. And from that day forward, he was no longer called Stone Monkey, and that was his new title. So after a time, they basically are, get more and more monkeys in there. The kingdom grows. They're all having a great time. They're having feasts all the time. But one day, after many years, the handsome Monkey King gets sad because, after all, you can't be happy forever. And when the monkeys ask him, why are you so sad? He simply tells them, I'm thinking ahead in life, and one day, we're all going to die, and we can no longer feast and drink and have fun and party. Our good life will be over one day, and that makes me really sad to think about that. So, of course, this makes all the other monkeys sad, but then a wise ape stands up and he says, listen, you're thinking about the future, great handsome Monkey King, and that's the first step to enlightenment. So there are actually three beings in existence that the gates of hell have no, let's say, jurisdiction over, and that's the sages, the immortals, and the Buddha. And so basically the Monkey King, he says, well, let me find one of these guys so I can learn immortality, and then I'll come back, teach it to all of you, and then we'll live forever and we'll never have to worry about dying. They all celebrate. They send him on his way on a boat. And he goes over to the human world in order to find an immortal or someone who could teach him immortality. Let's see here. Gotta love it when there's a secret behind the waterfall. Absolutely. And it was the case here. So, So he basically arrives in the human world. And when he arrives in the human world, he's very quick. He's very, very intelligent. See, being born miraculously isn't the only special thing about the handsome Monkey King. He's also, if he just hears part of a secret, he learns the whole thing. If he just, if he hears even like a small part of, whatever, like he can adopt it very, very quickly. He's very, very intelligent. And so he adopts the human customs by watching them, takes some clothes, and then acts like a human, walks upright, follows their customs and mannerisms, bowing and giving all the right courtesies, and spends 10 long years looking for an immortal, and no one knows where one is at. Until one day he finds a lumberjack in the woods who's cutting wood for a local immortal in a recluse area. So he goes over there. The immortal he approaches, his name, let me give you guys that, the patriarch Subadi. Subadi, after kind of looking over Monkey and questioning him a little bit, allows him to train under him and gives him a new name. He says that he asks what his family name is, and Monkey tries to explain to him that he wasn't born from anyone. He just kind of spawned into existence. And so Subadi gives him the name Sun Wukong. Sun meaning monkey, and Wukong meaning awakened to emptiness. So Monkey awakened to emptiness, Sun Wukong. So Sun Wukong spends time studying under this teacher, and after a while, the teacher basically is asking Sun Wukong, hey, listen, like I want to teach you different things. Can I teach you this? And Sun Wukong would simply reply, will that give me immortality? And he simply said, well, no, that won't. It's like, well, then if it's not going to give me immortality, I don't need to bother learning it. And this happened over and over again until one day Subadi struck Sun Wukong in the head 3 times, and all the other students thought that he was in trouble, but Sun Wukong knew it was a secret message. And so on the 3rd watch, he goes to Subadi and in his chambers, and he's so impressed that he was able to pick up on that secret message that he then teaches him the ways of immortality. And by, when he teaches them the ways of immortality, this is kind of a Taoist way of, this leaning into the Taoist religion, and in a very magnified way. And so the Taoists believe that through cultivating your own conduct, you could actually achieve an immortal body. And so you would break the cycle of reincarnation. That's just what they believe there. You would reincarnate until you would, become enlightened and that sort of thing. So breaking the cycle of reincarnation by just living forever. And so he teaches them the way to do this, to cultivate his conduct in this way. And then he warns them. He says, listen, once you become immortal, are you sure you want to do that? Because when you do that, it's kind of an unnatural thing. And the forces of heaven and demons and all kinds of things will try to kill you when you do this. And so Sun Wukong says, well, how can I avoid this terrible fate? He says, you got to learn magic spells. Specifically teaching him the 72 earthly transformations. And so he learns that. And then he also teaches him how to ride a cloud, which is, it's called the somersault cloud. Monkey does a somersault, and he can ride a cloud and go tens of thousands of miles in an instant. So he's already getting pretty overpowered. Well, one day, after 10 more long years of training under Patriarch Subadi, the other students, they realize that Sun Wukong is able to do some transformations, and they say, hey, could you show us one? Just one, right? So Sun Wukong gladly says, yeah, I'll show you one. And he turns into a giant cedar tree. Turns to a giant cedar tree, looks just like a cedar tree, and all the students are clapping and cheering, which is not something they're supposed to do at this monastery. And so Subedi comes out to see what all the ruckus is, and he is mortified by the fact that Sun Wukong would use his abilities to show off. And that's when he realizes he's made a huge mistake in teaching Sun Wukong anything about immortality or magic spells. See, in his wisdom, he realizes that eventually, with Sun Wukong having this kind of behavior, he's going to get a lot of attention on himself, which he's afraid that he's also going to get that attention. And so he tells Sun Wukong, you can't be here anymore. You got to leave. I never want to see you again. And by the way, if you tell anyone that I taught you any of this stuff, I'll find you and I'll kill you myself. So Sun Wukong, very sad about this, but he says, thanks him for everything that he did. And then he jumps on his somersault cloud and leaves. And the journey that once took him 10 years to find this spot, it takes him less than a minute to get all the way back to the cave, the water curtain cave of the mountain of flowers and fruit. So he just flies across, all the oceans and everything, all the continents, and he's back at home. And he arrives back at home, he finds the monkeys there, but there's not as many of them, and they seem like they're not thriving as well as they were thriving before. And the monkeys are super excited to see Sun Wukong, so they rush out to him and like, hey, where have you been? We thought you were never coming back. It's been 20 long years. And Sun Wukong's like, well, what's happened while I've been gone? So the monkeys tell him, well, last couple years, the demon king of confusion has been attacking us and kidnapping us. And had you been gone for another year, I don't know if there would be any monkeys left. So Sun Wukong says, okay, where is this demon king of confusion? I would like to have a word with him. And they warn Sun Wukong to say, hey, listen, handsome monkey king, he comes in a whirlwind. He's very difficult to stop. We don't want to lose you too. He says, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. They tell him where to go, and he sets off in that direction. So we'll pause there for just a second. We got, don't rat him out. Yeah, the students ratted him out. Want to live off the grind and keep it that way, or grid. Yes, he wanted to live off the grid and keep it that way. He was a recluse for his own reasons, right? He was afraid that people would find him and try to kill him, right? So, and you'll see there's with this story, there's a lot of people who are able to basically learn, this through the Taoist, faith, learn how to become immortal and learn special powers. And when they use those powers for evil, they are considered demons, right? So the demon king of confusion is probably not like a demon like you would think, like he's like a fallen angel kind of thing, but really just a creature, a person who learned how to, could have been an animal as well, like monkey, who learned how to cultivate his contact, become immortal, and attain magical powers, right? So it can be any kind of thing. But yeah, what's regarded as a demon or a god generally is, what are they doing with the powers that they have, right? So that's kind of what classifies them in those categories. All right, so I'm gonna get at some water real quick, and let's change to this view for a second here. All right, doing excellent on time too. I love this view right here. It's absolutely awesome. Okay, we're bringing it back in. All right, so Sun Wukong arrives at the cave where the demon king of confusion lives, and his minions, the demon's minions, run in to tell their lord what is going on. They're saying, hey, this guy saying he's the handsome monkey king has arrived. What do we do? The demon king of confusion, he's been hearing about this handsome monkey king for quite some time, and he says these monkeys won't stop talking about the guy. I figured he might show up here eventually. So you know what? Does he have any weapons? And they're like, no, he's out there, nothing but a gi and unarmed. And so the demon king of confusion says, I'll show this punk what's what. Give me my armor, give me my sword. So he gets his sword, gets his black and gold armor. He's got the really nice heavy set of armor, and he goes out to meet Sun Wukong. And when he does, he immediately starts taunting him, saying, "How dare you come into my presence, without even a sword? Like, you better be coming here to be, surrendering your monkeys to me." And so Wukong simply tells him, "No, that's not how it's going to work. I'm going to kick your butt because no one messes with my monkeys." So with this, the Demon King of Confusion says, "I'll fight you without a sword. I see that you're unarmed. That's a really dumb thing to do. But I'll tell you what, I don't need my sword to kill you." So he puts his sword down and they go to do battle. And Wukong even says, "Hey, it's nice to see that demons could actually have some honor. So let's do this." When they engage in a battle, they do multiple rounds of fighting, and the Demon King of Confusion realizes he's bitten off a lot more than he can chew. He gets hit in the ribs, he gets hit in the head, and one of his ribs gets broken by Wukong. So he goes for his sword real quick to try and, cheat, and Wukong just barely dodges this blade. And so what Wukong does, he jumps back, he takes a hair from the back of his head, puts it in his mouth, chews it, spits it out, and says, "Change." And then 500 monkeys, the hair turns into 500 monkeys. And these 500 monkeys beat up the Demon King of Confusion so badly that Wukong can take the sword and finish off the Demon King the way that he was trying to kill him. And so with that, defeats the Demon King of Confusion, rescues all of his monkeys, and heads back to the Water Curtain Cave. And so an interesting thing about his powers is that one of the things he could do is he could take his hair and he can kind of turn it into different things. He could turn it into objects, he could turn it into clones of himself, which is pretty overpowered, right? But he was willing to fight that battle in a fair way. And typically whenever Wukong does battle in this story, he tries to battle on, his enemy's level, right? Whatever they're doing, he tries to basically match their tricks and beat them at their own game to really prove that he's the better fighter. And so that's kind of his attitude about things. It's a little prideful, and it's kind of the first hint of his pride. So yeah. He wins this fight pretty easily by doing that, and whenever he's done transforming a hair, he always puts it right back on him, so he doesn't lose even a hair over this fight. And so he goes back over to the rest of the monkeys and realizes, all right, we're all together. Okay, where are we at right now? Are we back? It cut out there for a second. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if we're back. I'll just have to guess the internet went out for a second. Well, if Wilson was here, he could probably troubleshoot it a little bit faster, but we should be good. Okay. I think we're good. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you, Dan. Okay, we're going to continue the story right where basically we're left off. So he gets back to the Water Curtain Cave with all of his monkeys, and he thinks, you know what? I need to be a good king. I need to make sure my monkeys stay safe in the future if I ever have to leave again. So teaches them how to fight, and then realizes he's going to need some weapons. So he goes to a neighboring a human civilization called Aeoli, and he goes over there riding on his cloud by himself, and he creates a sandstorm, and it just causes all the people to have to go indoors and shut themselves indoors. And so while everyone is basically closed up for the sandstorm, he flies in and uses a hair to make more monkeys again, thousands this time, and basically robs their entire barracks of all of its weapons, and then brings them back over to his monkeys and gives them all these weapons now so they can actually be a formidable force. And when he does this, all the other animals in the area of the island, they decide to, pay allegiance and pay tribute to the handsome Monkey King. And so he starts gaining wealth and honor this way. He's got like all kinds of animals in other kingdoms now, like animal kingdoms, who are, basically under his command, because they're all kind of intimidated by the fact that the monkeys now have armor and swords and spears. And so while he's doing this, the monkeys find out that he's been given a new name. And so the monkeys adopt the surname Sun as basically to become the Sun Monkeys. So they basically add that to their names and say, give them names now Sun. Wukong is actually his common name. Sun would be like the family name. So yeah, now you have the sun monkeys who are fully armed and, kind of living a good life. But unfortunately, Wukong doesn't have a good weapon. See, when he swings a regular weapon around, he swings it so hard and so fast that generally breaks the weapon. So they're not really effective for him to use. So he hears that he has a neighbor, the Dragon King in the ocean. And so there's a few different Dragon Kings in the ocean, but there's one that's really nearby. So he puts a bubble around himself, goes down into the ocean, and he basically kind of invites himself in to the Dragon King's court and says, "Hey, I'm your neighbor, the handsome Monkey King. We should hang out a little bit." And so he invites him in as a guest. And so Sun Wukong tells him, "Listen, I need a good weapon. I hear you guys have really good weapons, and wouldn't it be great, since I'm a neighbor, and wouldn't it be so neighborly for you to give me one of your nice weapons?" And the Dragon King's starting to kind of pick up on what's going on. He was like, yeah, sure. Let me find something for you. But nothing the Dragon King could find was good enough for Monkey. And when the Dragon King tries to tell him, "Hey, listen, those are all the weapons I got. I got nothing else nicer than that," Wukong simply says, "All right, well, surely you can go look again. Look again really closely this time, because wouldn't you hate to have me around? Like, I might start messing around and things might start getting broken." And so the Dragon King starts getting afraid of this, handsome Monkey King. And so he basically calls in a council of all the other Dragon Kings in the ocean. And when they first come into this council, they all think, well, this monkey, he's just robbing you. Like, why don't we get rid of him? He says, no, he's too powerful. You won't want to do that. I just want to placate him and see him on his way. So they say, okay, well, they all pull together the resources. And actually, before they pull all the resources, they say, hey, isn't there a piece of iron in the ocean that's weighing down or anchoring down the Milky Way? And so they bring him over to this and they say, if you want that, it's yours. So when Monkey sees it, it's this 20-foot long iron bar that's too thick for him to really get his hand around it. But the second that Sun Wukong touches this piece of iron, it shrinks down to a usable size for a staff. It also weighs 13,500 pounds. And then as Monkey's kind of playing with this thing, he's able to shrink it down to the size of a needle and put it in his ear. He's able to bring it back out and basically change the shape and size of it at will. And so he calls it it's the gold banded as you will cudgel. So now he has a really nice staff. He's really excited about it. He's like, yes, this is perfect. This is exactly what I was wanting. And they're like, okay, will you leave now? And he says, well, this is a nice weapon and all, but man, I don't have any armor to go with it. I'd really hate to leave without getting some armor, and I'd hate to be playing with this down here, waiting for you guys to get that stuff. Could you guys bring me some armor real quick? So they find their best armor and they give him a dragon helmet, a dragon chassis armor, and they give him cloud walking boots. So the nicest stuff that they have, because basically they don't want Monkey to start wrecking things. And so after harassing the Dragon Kings for their best stuff, he then leaves. And when he leaves, he goes, the monkeys see that he's got all this nice armor now. He's got the gold banded as you will cudgel, and they just celebrate. And they celebrate for days and days and days. And towards the end of the celebration, Sun Wukong lays down for a nap. And when he does this, a couple agents from hell come up, grab each of his feet, and start dragging his soul down to the underworld. Well, Sun Wukong wakes up from this. He looks down, sees these two agents, and demands to know who they are and what they're doing. So they simply say, well, we're agents of hell. Your time is up. It's time for you to, your time's up for being in the living now. And he says, well, I became immortal, so you have no jurisdiction over me. And they say, well, take it up with the boss. He says, I will. And he takes the as you will cudgel from his ear, somehow still with him, even though it's his soul being dragged down. And he, quickly dispatches these two agents of hell. And instead of going back to his body, he sprints down into hell and just starts wrecking the place. He starts attacking anything and everything that he can. There's agents of hell who are trying to come out and stop him, and he's just kicking everybody's butts. He's just going into a wild rage and just causing a massive scene. Well, the 10 kings of hell they gather together and they say, what's going on? Why are we under attack? Who is this guy? And so they invite him in to, have a conversation, a little parlay. So he goes up to him and he demands to know who they are. They say, we're 10 kings of hell. He says, well, I need to know why you sent agents to come get me. You have no jurisdiction over me. I became an immortal. They say, well, there must be some kind of mistake, handsome Monkey King. We would never send someone to fetch your soul. He says, I demand to see the ledger. And so not the manager, but the ledger. Well, they bring the books out. And Wukong's now going through all the books and seeing all the people who are destined to die. And sure enough, under the category of monkeys, he sees his name. Sun Wukong, meant to live for 346 years and die quietly in his sleep. And so Wukong sees this and he goes, okay, how about this? I'm not even going to bother changing the number. Give me some ink. I'm blotting my name out entirely. So he gets ink, blots his name out, and then he proceeds to go through the entire list of monkeys, where all the names of the monkeys that are in his monkey kingdom, and blots all their names out as well. And when he's done doing that, throws the ledger back at them and immediately starts fighting again and fighting his way out of hell, and basically just wrecking the place even further. And this, of course, when he gets back out, he trips, falls, and then he's in his own body again. So he wakes up, tells all the monkeys, listen, you know that problem that we had, that one day we would die? Well, guess what? You don't have to cultivate your character or become immortal, because I took your names out of the ledgers of hell. So now we get to live forever and never have to worry about not having our good life anymore. All the monkeys celebrate. They're like, yeah, Sun Wukong is the best, handsome Monkey King. They love this guy. Then the scene switches to the heavenly courts, where the Jade Emperor is at. And in comes into the court a messenger. This messenger rushes in. He says, Jade Emperor, bad news. We got this report from the Dragon Kings. They said that there was this monkey who went down there, harassed them, and stole all their stuff. And then as he's giving this report, basically the Dragon King snitch report, you get, another guy running in with another report. He says, hey, listen, the Jade Emperor, the 10 kings of hell are complaining that this monkey went down and started just murdering all these agents of hell and wrecking the place. And then he took all these monkeys, their names out of the ledger. And we've had this great balance between like living and dying and who has responsibility for what. We want you to do something about this heinous monkey. So the Jade Emperor says, well, I don't know who this monkey is, but we should do something about it. We should kill him. Right, so after the snitch reports are all read, but then the Great White Planet, also in some versions of the story, is called Venus, but in the version I read, it's just called the Great White Planet. So he comes down and he says, hey, listen, Jade Emperor, I hear that this monkey guy is pretty tough. So instead of just going and attacking him, which could be pretty difficult, why don't we just invite him up into heaven? Give him a station, give him like a title, a job to do of some kind. And if he does well, we'll promote him. And if he does poorly, well, we'll punish him then. And then he'll kind of be in our clutches already, and it'll be easier to deal with him. So the Jade Emperor thinks it over and he says, okay, I like that idea. Go down there and invite him up here. I'll give him some kind of title. I'll give him some kind of job to do. So Great White Planet goes to the Monkey King and invites him up, and Sun Wukong sitting in his throne having a great time. And he just remarks and says, I was thinking of going up to heaven anyways and taking a stroll. It only makes sense that you would invite me up there. Absolutely, I'll go with you. So he goes up into heaven, and he gets into the presence of the Jade Emperor. Now, normally, anyone who goes in the presence of the Jade Emperor, they're bowing down, they're doing all the things to show their respects and everything like that. But Sun Wukong, he doesn't bow down to the Jade Emperor at all. He just walks right up to him, stands there with a dumb smile on his face. He's like, all right, I'm here. What job you got for me? And some of the people in the court are immediately, don't like Sun Wukong. They immediately want to kill him for, not showing the right etiquette. But they're told to calm down. The monkey just doesn't understand. He's a monkey after all, right? So it's like he just doesn't understand. That's fine. So the Jade Emperor says, hey, what jobs do we have available? Kind of dismissively. And someone says, well, they're all full. It's like, well, just make him protector of the horses or something. I don't know, like just give him that. The Jade Emperor dismisses him. And when Sun Wukong hears this, he's thinking, protector of the horses, protector of the heavenly stables. Well, that sounds like a really good job. That must be really important. So he goes and he does his job for a few days, and half the time he's just kind of sitting around and being a lazy monkey, but the other half of the time he does the best job he can do at taking care of the horses in heaven. He feeds them, you know, more than enough. He brushes them thoroughly. Whenever he shows up, the horses all rush to Sun Wukong because they just love him for how well he treats them. So he's doing this, and then one day they have a kind of a small banquet. Like I said, this has been a few days of being on the job. They have a small banquet, a small feast, if you will. And he's sitting at the table and he's eager to find out where does he rank with all the other gods, because he's got this title now. He's protector of the heavenly stables. So he's at the table and he just can't wait. He's like, hey guys, so how good is my job? Like where do I rank among everyone else? And one of the other guys just told him, you're unlisted, undesignated. What does unlisted mean? What does undesignated mean? Is it good? Like, nah, it's terrible. If basically you're not even ranked. If you do a good job, you might get a pat on the back or a thumbs up. But if you do a bad job, you'll get punished. And if you do a really bad job, they'll kill you. So it's the worst job you can have. You're basically on the bottom of the ladder. And when Sun Wukong realizes that, you know, his station isn't very high at all, he kicks over the table and says, screw this place, I'm out of here. And he, dashes out of heaven, goes back down to his monkey kingdom, and abandons his job as the protector of the heavenly stables. Well, when word of this gets to the Jade Emperor, he's thinking, well, no one abandons their post. How dare he? Send some troops down there, send a few thousand troops down there, and fetch him and bring him to my presence. So the heavenly army is dispatched, is sent down to basically bring Sun Wukong back up. And while Sun Wukong's down there, he first gets to the monkeys. He starts grumbling. He's like, first off, he's not a liar. He tells the monkeys all the details. And he says that the Jade Emperor doesn't know a good man when he sees one. So naturally, I'm not going to sit there and do a crap job like that. I deserve a better job. I am so great and so awesome, and he doesn't recognize it. So he said, one of the monkeys gives him an idea. They say they should have treated you better. They should have made you the great sage equaling heaven. And Sun Wukong thinks about it, and he's like, I like the way that sounds. The great sage equaling heaven. Put it on banners, and from now on, refer to me as the great sage equaling heaven. Well, when the heavenly armies are sent down and they see these banners, they're thinking, how dare he assume this title for himself? And so what's sent down, I'll kind of give you some details here, because now we're going to go over some names. We're most of the way through the story, by the way. All right, so what's sent down is the heavenly king Li, the mighty spirit god, and the prince Nizha. They're all sent down basically to do battle with Wukong and try to capture him. But each one that tries to do battle with him, they basically either have their weapons broken. They'll come into battle and they sing praises and talk about how great their weapon is, and then Sun Wukong breaks their weapon and they retreat. And that's what happens to the first two. But the third one, the Prince Nizha, he comes in and he turns into a 3-headed, 6-armed titan to try and battle, or essentially small giant to battle Sun Wukong. And he's got 6 swords. So Wukong turns into a 6-armed, 3-headed, essentially monster, and who's wielding basically 3 as you will cudgels, and he fights him on that even ground. Well, after a lot of rounds, they're not able to make a lot of headway, and so the way Wukong beats him is that he uses a hair to make a clone of himself in front of him, and then sneak around behind Prince Nizha, and then basically attack him from behind, which of course he can't do anything about, and Prince Nizha gets injured. Basically his arm gets broken, and then he has to leave. So he's basically able to ward off all of these heavenly soldiers that are sent to get him. And after that day is over, the defeated army of heaven goes back up and they start complaining to the Jade Emperor, we need a lot more troops. We need hundreds of thousands of guys. We need a battalion to get them. And then the great white planet intercedes and says, all right, listen, fighting isn't going to work here. Clearly, let's invite him up again. He's given himself this ridiculous title. It's an empty title, but let's just recognize it, placate him, and, you know, just keep him out of trouble. So they decide, okay, we'll do this then. We'll placate him, we'll keep him out of trouble. So they invite him back up, and he says, you got to call me the Great Sage Equaling Heaven. They're like, okay, fine, we'll call you the Great Sage Equaling Heaven. So he has an official title now of the Great Sage Equaling Heaven, and he's invited back up to heaven to basically just kind of be there. I mean, he kind of visits a bunch of gods. He gets really bored because he has nothing to do. And so as he's visiting everyone and not really causing any trouble, the Jade Emperor doesn't like this. He's like, he should have something to do. Like, he shouldn't just be, because they have a house for him, they have a place for him and everything. Like, he needs to have a responsibility or else he'll get in trouble. Well, the Jade Emperor, this is a big mistake on his part, because he assigns him the role, Sun Wukong, a monkey, by the way, assigns him the role as the protector of the heavenly peaches. So his job is to protect the heavenly peaches, and so he's put in charge of all these heavenly peaches, and these are very special peaches. Each one can just, by eating them, give you eternal life. So these things take tens of thousands of years to grow and ripen, and they use them for special occasions, specifically an annual banquet where everyone who's a somebody, you know, who's related to heaven, whether it's a god or a, you know, a Buddha or Bodhisattva, I'll explain what that is in a second, or an immortal that's basically allied with heaven, all these guys will be invited to an annual banquet. So he's put in charge of these heavenly peaches, and when he does that, you know, he does what a monkey does best. He basically can't help himself, and he just starts eating them, you know, in secret while he's in charge of them, and pretty much eats almost every single one of them. So by the time that this banquet occurs and some people are sent by the Heavenly Mother to go and get these peaches, there's basically none left. And Wukong is asking, well, why are you guys here to get peaches? He's very indignant. Well, how dare you come here to get peaches? I'm here to protect them. And he's been eating them. And they explain to him, well, there's this big heavenly banquet. Everyone who's a somebody is invited. And then Wukong realizes, I wasn't invited. What do you mean? I'm important. I'm the Great Sage Equaling Heaven. How dare they not invite me to this important banquet? So, feeling indignant, hurt, wounded by this, the Great Sage Equaling Heaven goes to the banquet hall before anyone else is really there yet. It's just a few people who are cooking and preparing for the banquet. He makes a spell that causes all of them to go to sleep, and then he decides to eat everything that was meant for the banquet. Then after doing that, he goes to another room where there are pills of immortality. You know, these gourds filled with pills of immortality, they're gifts from heaven given to, you know, special people. He sees these, they're very difficult to make, and he proceeds to just eat all of them. So he eats all of these things, and that's when he kind of realizes, I have taken this too far. I've really overstepped in my reaction here. And so he flees heaven to go back down to his monkey kingdom and just kind of like wants to forget the whole thing happened. Well, when everyone realizes what's happened, and the Jade Emperor realizes what's happened, that the heavenly peaches have all been eaten, all the pills of immortality have been consumed, and all the stuff at the banquet has just been ruined, and you know, they're supposed to hold this within a day. Well, he gets pretty upset and he says, I want that demon monkey dead. So they sent hundreds of thousands of heavenly troops down. They put a heavenly net around the entire island to make sure that no one can leave. And then there are the 4 heavenly generals who are there, which are supposed to be a big deal. And they're there to capture Monkey and bring him back. And so a big battle, this second big war between Sun Wukong and Heaven commences. And the first day, basically Heaven is able to capture all the other animals who are, you know, on Sun Wukong's side, but not a single one of the monkeys get captured, nor does Sun Wukong. As a matter of fact, the 4 heavenly generals attack Sun Wukong all at once, and Sun Wukong easily beats all 4 of them. And anyone who tries to attack Sun Wukong, he easily defeats them, and the monkeys hold their own against Heaven. And that first day is really seen as a big defeat for Heaven itself. They're pretty down. They're not having a good time. And then there's an important person in the story who comes to the scene. She was invited to the heavenly banquet. Her name is Guan Yin. So Guan Yin is a Bodhisattva. What a Bodhisattva is, it's kind of the Buddhist religion side of this story. It's someone who is, achieved a nirvana essentially, but instead of, with Buddhism, in this, the way it works in the story is that you abandon your body, as opposed to Taoism that's about making your body immortal. The Buddhist, gets to a point of nirvana or enlightenment, abandons their body to enter nirvana. Right? That's kind of the best way that the story explains it. A Bodhisattva is someone who achieves enlightenment, but doesn't abandon her body. She doesn't go into nirvana. She stays in the world to help people. And so she's a very famous and very powerful Bodhisattva, probably the most famous one. So when she shows up, she sees that's, what heaven is dealing with, and she gives some good advice. She says, well, there's I want to make sure I get his name correct. There's a very famous hero. Let's see here. I want to make sure I get his name. I think it's Eglan or Erlang. There we go. There's a very famous hero named Erlang. You should invite him to come and do battle with this monkey, because he's probably the only one in the world who could stand up to him. So they do this. He shows up to do battle with Monkey, and they basically have this epic battle. Monkey is trying all kinds of things. They even turn into giant titans, and they're fighting all the second day, and really one isn't able to get over the other one, right? So they're just kind of going back and forth with this. So after battling for a while, once they get to this kind of colossal state of their battle, all the monkeys who are fighting the rest of heaven, are in pure shock and awe at this big battle that Erlang and Sun Wukong are in. And when they're stunned in that moment by this battle, they quickly get captured by all of heaven's troops. Sun Wukong sees that his monkeys are getting captured, and so he desperately tries to disengage from Erlang because he wants to save his monkeys. But he's not really able to quite get away for Erlang. So he tries to go back down, but the monkeys are all captured at this moment. So he's now trying to get away from Erlang still. And this really funny sequence of events happens. So I'm going to quickly go through it here. Monkey turns into a sparrow, and Erlang turns into a kite to go after the sparrow. Monkey sees the kite and realizes this must be Erlang. So he turns to a big cormorant. Erlang turns into a crane. So then Monkey turns into a fish, and as he's swimming in the water, Erlang figures he's turned into a fish, so he turns into a fish hawk. And as Monkey is swimming through the water, he looks up and he sees this fish hawk, but it doesn't quite look like a fish hawk 100%. There's something a little off about its feathers and its feet, kind of has some features of some other birds, and figures that must be Erlang. So he quickly turns the opposite direction, swims upstream. Well, Erlang, as the fish hawk, sees this fish randomly go the opposite way and goes, that kind of looked like a specific fish, but also had some features slightly of other fish, and he realized that's got to be Monkey. So he turns around, goes after him, dives into the water, and Monkey turns to a snake and gets away by going through the grass. Well, it doesn't stop Erlang, turns back into his normal form, tries to find Monkey, and Monkey has turned into a temple. And so he doesn't really know what to do with his tail, so he basically turns to a flagpole at the back of the temple. And this almost trips Erlang. He kind of almost walks past this thing until he realizes, hey, flagpoles don't belong behind a temple. I bet this is Monkey. I'm going to find out by smashing its windows and breaking in the doors. Monkey hears this and he thinks, well, the windows are my eyes and the doors are my teeth. If he smashes those things, what's going to be left of me? So he turns turns invisible essentially, and is able to get out of the heavenly net, goes all the way. It's such a ridiculous chase scene. It goes all the way to Erlang's home, to a temple where he lives, turns into Erlang, and then just starts kind of running the place into the ground, and just kind of making havoc there at his home to try and get even with him. Erlang gets all the way back there when he kind of finds out. The time span on this is kind of ridiculous, but he gets there, they do battle once again, and they fight all the way back to the mountain of flowers and fruit. And as they're in battle and as they get back to the mountain, every one of the soldiers in heaven now jump Monkey all at once. He's now fighting every single warrior of heaven, and he's holding his own. They cannot defeat Monkey after all of this. So Guan Yin is looking down from heaven. She sees the situation, and she takes it's called a gold cutter. It's like a ring, maybe like a bracer or something like that, from one of the gods, and she throws it down at Monkey, hits him in the head. This stuns him long enough for Erlang and the rest of heaven's troops to bind Monkey and bring him back into heaven. So with Monkey bound, brought into heaven, he now has to answer for his great crime of ruining the banquet and resisting heaven. And the Jade Emperor doesn't really show any mercy. He just says, send him to the demon slaying chambers and kill him. So they bring him in there, and they try to, but every time they strike him with any of their heavenly weapons, it doesn't even leave a single mark on Monkey. They can't even cut a hair on his head. And so after trying all day to slay him and finding out that he's, basically impervious to all their weapons, they bring him to a great furnace. And this is the furnace called the 8 trigram furnace, the heavenly furnace where the pills of immortality are made. So they bring him here, and they decide, well, we'll just put him in this furnace. Maybe we'll get our pills of immortality back by just, turning him into cinder. So they throw him in. And while he's in there, they start getting the heat up. Monkey tries to meditate and create wind to lower the flames, but it doesn't really work. The pot gets hot, and they just leave it there for days and days. It just says that after a long time, they figure, okay, he must be ashes now, and they go to empty the pot. And when they do, out springs Monkey, who's the only damage that he has, the white of his eyes are now burnt and turned red, but he can still use his eyes just fine. So now he has yellow eyes with a red background to them, and they're that way now permanently. This is the only damage he's received, and he, goes crazy. He's got his As You Will Cudgel still. He gets that out, and he just starts making what was the best way to say it? He just starts smashing anything and everyone in heaven. He's basically trying to tear heaven apart, and hardly anyone can stand in his way. They realize that because he ate all the heavenly peaches, he ate all the pills of immortality, and then they put him in the furnace, all those things within him were refined, and so now he's more powerful than ever. And so this is a big problem. Now the Jade Emperor is really afraid heaven is going to get destroyed entirely, and Monkey's trying to make his way to the chambers of the Jade Emperor to do battle with him personally. So the Jade Emperor has to call out to the Buddha, and a specific Buddha, and I think this is just a fictional Buddha here. Let's see here. It's the Buddha Tathagata. So that's his name, Tathagata. I think that only exists in this story. So he goes and he begs the Buddha Tathagata, listen, heaven's about to be destroyed by this monkey. We need your help. So the Buddha shows up. Monkey is pretty much at the final door to get into the chambers of the Jade Emperor's court. And so the Buddha approaches Monkey and he says, listen, if you can best me by escaping the palm of my hand, then I will make you king of all of heaven. It'll be rightfully yours, and I'll make sure they all give you the title. And so Monkey thinks this over, and he says, that sounds pretty good. I would love to be the king of heaven. And so Monkey quickly goes to task. The Buddha puts his hand out, so the monkey jumps on his hand and then jumps off his hand and travels as far as he can to the edge of the universe until he finds pillars in the edge of the universe and figures he's gone far enough. And they don't look too dissimilar from our view back here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that again. So a scene very similar to this. So he finds these pillars at the edge of the universe. And when he's there, he figures, well, surely this is far enough. I've clearly escaped the Buddha's palm. There's no way I will officially become king of heaven. So he's got to make sure that he leaves his mark, though. So he writes monkey was here on one of the pillars and then pees on it to make sure everyone knows he was in fact there. Let's go ahead and let's go back here. Perfect. So he goes back to the Buddha, who's in the heavenly court, and he arrives and he says, see, I was able to escape your palm. And the Buddha says, no, you didn't. Look, you have written here on my hand that monkey was here and you peed on my hand. And Monkey is absolutely like blown away by this. He realizes in that moment that this Buddha has powers that far outweigh anything that he could do. And before he could do anything else to get away, the Buddha then uses the 5 pillars to create a 5-pillar mountain, or it's called the 5-finger mountain, and traps Monkey underneath this mountain and says, you're going to have to stay there for the next 500 years. And that is what happens to Monkey. He's stuck now under this mountain, forced to be there for 500 years, and all that's poking out is his head and his hands. So he's just under this mountain with that poking out, and there's heavenly guards that are sent to make sure that if he asks for food, I think they give him molten pellets, and if he's thirsty, they give him like liquid lead or something like that, something nasty, right? And he has to be that way for 500 years. So yeah, that's the setup of the Monkey King and the story journey to the west. So we've reached the end of it there. Basically the next leg of the story is going to happen 500 years later, when there's a monk who's going to be basically trying to go from China to India to fetch the Buddhist scriptures, and along the way he's going to need some help, and so he runs into Monkey, but we'll save that for another time. So yeah, that is Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, who went from being stone monkey all the way to the great sage equaling heaven. And one thing I really like about this story is that Monkey is, in a lot of ways, like, I don't know, like, I really like him as a character. I think he's very sympathetic. He's not always being treated that well, but at the same time, he has a huge issue with pride. And the idea that, whenever someone does anything to him, he has to get even, and he can't deal with any kind of humbling whatsoever. Like, he has the pinnacle of pride. And, we cover stories here that have universal values. And one of the things that's very universal is the concept of pride, and how, at the end of the day, for all the things that Monkey was good at, he was born incredibly intelligent, incredibly powerful, very, very gifted, but those gifts made him, quite arrogant. And it was his own arrogance that eventually, brought him low, to the point where now he's trapped for 500 years under a mountain in an agonizing state. So yeah. So with that, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts, put it in the comments below. As we go back to the front of the ship, hopefully Wilson will be here soon with those space snacks. That would be very, very nice. And yeah, so let's go ahead, and I will see you guys back at the front of the ship. There it is. Okay. Easy day, man. Make sure I don't lose my voice over that. Okay, so we have are we here? And oh, look who the cat dragged in. All right, so Wilson's finally back. No, don't worry about it, Wilson. I've been working on trying to get us back home. Just so you guys know, this is a non-captain thing to do, navigating my way through the universe here. But I read the manual, mostly. Basically, yeah, I followed the manual. No, I mean, seriously, yeah, it's like, like there's some stuff that's redundant in there. But I got it, Wilson. Don't worry about it. It'll be totally fine. So let's see here. I want to make sure I do this right. Okay. Here we go. Want to make sure. All right. Yeah, don't worry about it. Listen, you're the one always asking me to do non-captain things around here, and I took the time to do it. Did you get the space snacks? Yeah, it's perfect. All right, I can't wait to dive into those. Let's we're going to, I guess, head back right now. It'll be fine, Wilson. What are the chances of us hitting anything in space? It'd be practically nothing. Space is so full of nothingness, guys. If you put all the space into a box, you wouldn't see light, you'd see nothing, because that's the majority of space. You can pick any direction in space and go, and the chance of hitting anything is pretty much zero. So what's the worst that could happen here? I think we got it here. Yeah. So anyways, with that, yeah, I don't know. See, this is great, right? I learned some new things. I was able to navigate us back, and yeah, easy day. Oh shoot. Oh shoot. Credit. Hold up. What did we hit? Ooh. 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 That's ooh, that's we can do that again. Okay, all right. I'll let you I'll let you do it. You got it? Got it? No. What do you mean figures? No, Wilson. All right, listen. If you weren't trying to sell, animals on Earth to aliens, we would never be in this situation, okay? And you said that I could do it, all right? You're always wanting me to do things around here, so you've got to take the share of the blame on this one, all right? Besides, I think that now that I think about it, I think we may have solved your lack of glue barks problem, because those snacks, I guarantee you, those just went up in value a lot. I think that's a silver lining. Not that was what we were trying to do. Let's see here. Ooh, that's not normal. And no more flying J. It was space flying J, by the way. Yeah, I'm sure they can fix that. We didn't break all of it, so yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Listen, we might need to find another space flying J to go to next time. Well, yeah. Let's see here. Let me go to lock us into place right here. Okay. Oh no, not with that again, Wilson. Not with that again. Hold up. Absolutely not. Get your stupid ad out of here. You knew that would irritate me. Okay. All right, guys. Yeah, so that's going to be the show today. Appreciate you guys sticking around. If you find this to be fun, entertaining, worthwhile in any way, if you would like to give us a like and subscribe, but more than anything, if you could just share it with somebody else, just tell someone about it, that sort of thing. The main thing with YouTube here is we're trying to reach as many people as we can with a live show, but that's kind of rough with the algorithm on YouTube, so it doesn't generally like live shows as much. It's kind of hard to get recognized on it. So I think a lot of people would enjoy the show, and we could bring people together, have these shared stories, which I think really does add a lot of value to culture and bringing people together, because honestly, that's the way that people have traditionally always been brought together, is when they have shared stories. And when you can basically understand similar things about, like, hey, like the Monkey King, hey, you don't have pride like him, right? But just kind of having that in common. You get a bunch of people who really like Star Wars or Star Trek in a room, they have something in common that they can share, and people don't feel so estranged to one another anymore. So that's kind of our main goal right here. And if you believe in that and you would like that to see that more, share the show with someone. And yeah, so with that, I got a new little song for our outro right here. So get your dancing shoes on. It doesn't look like we have any more chats right now, so we'll just go ahead and hit that outro. Actually, Wilson, you want to hit it? All right, perfect, cool. I'll see you guys next time, and you have a fantastic day. Eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you. every brave subscriber. Thank you. You keep us flying. We'll see you next time.